Apparently, Donald Trump's administration was trying to lay the groundwork for claiming that the 2020 election was stolen long before the actual voting even took place. A new report from Politico has revealed that Ken Cinelli, who was then the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, a Deputy Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, had actually ordered intelligence officials in the Department of Homeland Security to start investigating in April of 2022 whether or not people were using mail-in voting to commit massive voter fraud. Intelligence officials with the Department of Homeland Security had to investigate voting fraud for an election that hadn't happened yet. And of course, the intelligence officials were a little confused by this. They, were thinking to themselves, we're supposed to be out there checking for terrorist threats, any kind of thing that could kill people here in the United States, and you want to pull us off of that to investigate votes that haven't happened. All right, you're giving us an order, we kind of got to do it. So they did it. And then in the summer, according to the report, Cinelli came back and he said, great. Now we're going to, I got to read it. I'll just read it. Later in summer 2020, they were tasked with investigating possible hacking of political campaigns, voter intimidation, and illegal entry into polling places. And as Election Day neared, DHS investigators were told to look into, quote, attempts to alter, destroy, sell, or hide mail-in ballots, which were all conspiracy theories amplified by Donald Trump online during rallies and even in presidential debates. Selling ballots, right? Like, hey, do you want an extra vote? Like one extra vote costs you what, like $50? And I do remember actually now reading that again. It's like, I remember when Donald Trump went out there in the rallies and said they were selling ballots. I think he said they were like, what, $50 a piece. That's a lot to pay for one extra single vote. But here's the kicker. DHS did in fact start investigating these claims in April of 2020. They were investigating it through the summer. They were investigating it through the fall. They were investigating it up to the actual time of the election. And do you know what they found? Nothing. They found nothing. They spent over half a year trying to bolster, with any evidence they could find, these conspiracy theories being pushed by Donald Trump himself. And Cinelli was right there trying everything he could to prove what could not be proven because it didn't exist. And what this does is actually bolsters the case against Donald Trump should the DOJ do their job and actually file criminal charges against him. Because now we know, thanks to Ken Cinelli, that there was no evidence for anything Donald Trump suggested. There was no evidence to back up any of the claims that they made after the election when they were trying to overturn the results that, oh, there's fraud everywhere. There's mail-in voting fraud. There's a voting machine fraud. They were hacking into this. They were hacking into that. Didn't happen. And you knew for months ahead of the election that it wasn't happening. So Cinelli, in trying to help Trump, may have just actually destroyed his only legal argument if the DOJ decides to charge him, which they better. Like, I'm not even saying the DOJ should charge him. I'm at the point where saying you'd better charge him. Because you have all the evidence you need to prove that the man knew the election wasn't stolen, which is the only argument he could make in a defense. Because, as I've said both here and over at Ring of Fire, if Trump genuinely did believe that the election was stolen, in his mind, in his view, the actions he took and all his little followers took to overturn the results would be viewed as legitimate. Now, that's not an excuse, but legally speaking, it is a defense that could keep them out of trouble. But now, thanks to this report, we know that he knew almost a year before the election that none of this was true. that would make prosecuting him a hell of a lot easier if anybody at the DOJ happens to be paying attention. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share, but again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.